the lost city of Carthage, empire of merchants and warriors on the coast of North Africa, where the waves of the Mediterranean crash against the rocks near modern-day Tunis, once stood a city of immense power, mystery, and tragedy. Carthage, a name that echoes with glory and fire, was one of the greatest cities of the ancient world. Founded by Phoenician settlers, it grew into a maritime empire, challenged the might of Rome, and was ultimately erased from the map in flames. Carthage was not built in a day, nor by a single man. According to legend, it was founded around 814 BCE by a woman, Queen Alyssa, also known as Dido. Fleeing her native Tyre, she and her followers sailed across the sea and landed on the shores of Africa. There, through cunning and diplomacy, Dido established a settlement that would soon rise to dominate the western Mediterranean. What began as a trading outpost quickly transformed into a commercial empire. Carthage inherited the maritime genius of the Phoenicians, who were the greatest seafarers of their time. With ships that mastered the winds and coastlines, the Carthaginians connected Spain, Sicily, Sardinia, and North Africa into a web of ports, colonies, and alliances. At its height, Carthage was one of the richest and most cosmopolitan cities in the world. Its harbors were filled with merchant vessels. Its streets were lined with workshops, marketplaces, and temples. Its people, a mix of Phoenicians, Berbers, Greeks, and others, lived under a powerful aristocracy, led by merchant families and a ruling council. But Carthage was more than a city of trade. It was a city of ambition, innovation, and resilience, a city that would dare to challenge the rising Roman Republic. Carthage did not build its empire through conquest alone. It bought it, negotiated it, and defended it with precision. Its army was unlike any other in the ancient world. Instead of relying solely on native citizens, Carthage employed a vast force of mercenaries, Numidian cavalrymen from Africa, Iberian swordsmen from Spain, Gallic warriors from the north. These men were fierce, diverse, and deadly, but also difficult to control. At the center of Carthaginian life stood its religion, a complex and controversial system of gods, rituals, and sacrifices. Chief among their deities was Baal Hammon, the god of weather and fertility, and Tanit, a mother goddess often depicted with outstretched arms in a triangular robe. Their temples were grand, but it was the city's Tophet, a sacred open-air sanctuary that remains one of the most debated and disturbing parts of Carthaginian history. Archaeological evidence suggests that in times of great crisis, the Carthaginians may have practiced child sacrifice, offering their most precious lives to the gods in exchange for mercy, rain, or victory. Whether these accounts were exaggerated by Roman historians remains a topic of fierce scholarly debate, but they contributed to Rome's later justification for total destruction. Despite the shadows in its beliefs, Carthage was a city of art, mathematics, navigation, and engineering. It created harbors with double docks, one for the merchant fleet and one for the navy, complete with repair stations and a central command island. The Carthaginian alphabet influenced writing systems across the Mediterranean. Its scientists studied agriculture and even compiled treatises that would later influence Roman farming. But Carthage's greatest son, and Rome's greatest nightmare, would emerge in the 3rd century BCE, Hannibal Barca. By the mid-2nd century BCE, Carthage had become strong again, not militarily, but economically. Its markets were thriving, its harbors full, and its merchants once more controlled key trade routes across the Mediterranean. To Rome, this was intolerable. Some Roman senators, especially the elder statesman Cato the Elder, ended every speech, no matter the topic, with the same chilling phrase, Carthago delenda est. Carthage must be destroyed. In 149 BCE, Rome found its pretext. Claiming that Carthage had violated the terms of previous treaties, the Roman Senate declared war and launched the Third Punic War. This time, there would be no peace negotiations, For 3 years, the Carthaginians resisted with everything they had. The city, fortified and filled with desperate citizens, fought heroically, house by house, wall by wall. But in 146 BCE, Roman general Scipio Aemilianus breached the city. What followed was brutal and final. Carthage was burned to the ground. Its people were slaughtered or sold into slavery. Its libraries, temples, homes, and docks, all reduced to ash. According to legend, the Romans salted the earth so that nothing would ever grow again. And just like that, one of the most powerful cities of the ancient world vanished. But Carthage was not forgotten. Centuries later, the Romans themselves rebuilt a new city over its ruins. Today, the remains of ancient Carthage still stand near modern-day Tunis. Crumbled stones, harbor outlines, temple fragments, and quiet echoes of a civilization that once challenged the greatest empire on earth. Carthage reminds us of the cost of rivalry, the fragility of greatness, and the tragedy of vengeance. It was a city of merchants, warriors, seafarers, and visionaries. And though Rome silenced its voice, Carthage's legacy still speaks in history, in myth, and in the lessons we continue to learn from its rise and fall. Hannibal was more than a general. He was a strategist, a visionary, and a symbol of Carthaginian will. Born into the powerful Barcid family, Hannibal grew up under the shadow of war. His father, Hamilcar Barca, had fought in the First Punic War, where Carthage suffered a humiliating defeat to Rome. Before departing on campaign, Hamilcar is said to have made young Hannibal swear a blood oath, never to be a friend of Rome. That oath would shape history. In 218 BCE, during the Second Punic War, Hannibal launched one of the most daring military campaigns ever attempted. With an army of African infantry, Iberian cavalry, and war elephants, he crossed the Alps in winter. Against all odds, he brought his forces into the heart of Italy. What followed was a series of crushing victories against Rome. At Cannae, in 216 BCE, Hannibal surrounded and annihilated a Roman army twice his size. It was a masterclass in battlefield tactics that is still studied in military academies today. Rome was shaken, allies wavered, Carthage seemed on the brink of victory, but Carthage hesitated. Support from the city was slow. Hannibal, deep in enemy territory, could not take Rome without reinforcements. And Rome, refusing to surrender, adapted and endured. Under generals like Scipio Africanus, Rome pushed back, first in Spain, then in Africa. In 202 BCE, at the Battle of Zama, Scipio defeated Hannibal on North African soil. It was the end of Carthage as a great military power, but it was not yet the end of Carthage itself. The city survived, still rich, still proud. It rebuilt its economy, regained influence in trade, and began to thrive once more. But Rome had not forgotten, nor forgiven.